Today's Taobao had a whole series of middle-aged and older generations said, we must have dialects. If you got 100 gigabytes here, yeah, you can put it in. But you haven't got 100 gigabytes. Lucky if you got 1 gigabyte. And the more you use of dialects, the less you will use of Mandarin. Your Mandarin will go down. Your English will not go down because you have to use it. You go to work, you use it. Now, I will show you how the trend is irreversible. Whatever the people write in the newspapers, whatever, the trend is irreversible. I told them to do a graph of the dominant language of Chinese primary 1 students from 1980 to 2009. So you watch the dialect. The dialect is in green. In 1980, over 60% spoke dialect. Then it goes right down, and by 1986, Mandarin overtook dialect. And dialect now has gone down to 2%. Okay? It'll become 0. Nothing can change that because you have a limited brain capacity. When you reach A levels or you go to poly, you've got so many things to do, so many things to read. You must have one master language, and that master language is English, so you get knowledge quickly in that language. You try to read in Chinese and in English, you are in trouble. Now you watch the other graph. As the Chinese goes up, the Mandarin speaking is the red. It reached its peak in 1988-89. That's high point for Mandarin. English moved and crossed Mandarin in 2004. Now English has overtaken Mandarin, and English is 60% and Mandarin is 40%. And I think that trend will continue. Now what I want to say to the parents who can speak Mandarin, if you want your children to master Mandarin, speak to them in Mandarin at home. Don't worry about their English. They will learn English. Whether you like it or not, they are going to meet friends, schools, teachers, examinations. They will master English. But Chinese is being taught 30% of the time in primary schools, 20% of the time in secondary schools. You will be speaking English most of the time, and at work, you will do English. I give you my children's example. 3 children went to school in the 1950s. I was English speaking, my wife was English speaking. I decided to send them to a Chinese school, the old Chinese school in the 1950s. So they learned nothing but Chinese and English as one subject. And my wife told them, don't listen to your teacher's English, listen to my English. So when they were in primary school, she spoke to them in English. I spoke to them in Mandarin because I wanted to practice my Mandarin. My eldest boy completed 12 years of Chinese school. He went to an English language university, came back, worked in English. Today, English is his master language. Yes, he can read Chinese. You ask him to write a speech in Chinese, it is tough. Because he's using it, 5% of his time, read the Chinese papers, read the Chinese online, meet a few visitors from China or Taiwan. Otherwise, we are speaking English all the time. So, I asked my second son. He went to SAF, then he became Singtel's CEO. I said, can you still speak Chinese? He said, yes, I can. I said, when you go to China, you speak Chinese to them? He said, yes, I can. I said, can you negotiate with them in Chinese? He says, no, I can't. Because that's serious business and technical phrases. So I asked my daughter, but she meets patients who speak dialects and Chinese. So her Mandarin is more used than the two boys. Because patient comes, young patients all speak Mandarin. So I want to make this point that if you both can speak Chinese, Mandarin, don't speak to your child in English, or one in English and one in Chinese. Speak to them in Chinese, Mandarin. Leave their English alone, they will master it. I will tell you why it's difficult. An American professor from Williams College called Cornelius Kubler, I've got this in an appendix to my speech. He teaches American diplomats Chinese and other languages. I think he's got German also. And he wrote, "The experience of the U.S. government language training agencies has shown that it takes 4 times as long to train someone to a level where they can function professionally in Chinese as it takes them in French, German, or Spanish. 4 times. Why? Because from young you have not heard the sounds, the tones. If when you are a child, like those little boys and girls, you don't catch the tone, ma, 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 ma. I took years to catch it. So my children used to tell me, wrong tone. Why? Because I don't hear it frequently enough. The ears are not tuned that way. You got to catch the sound. And you catch the sound when your ears are fresh and keen. A Chinese American called Yang Wen-zhong, he wrote a piece in the Journal of Chinese Overseas in November 2007. I read it. He did a survey of American-born Chinese, second generation. They did not learn Chinese in school. When they went to college, China is rising, they want to learn Chinese. And he found this. Those who spoke in Mandarin at home, 普通话 at home with their parents, they had no trouble. Because they caught the sounds, they made the grade. Those who spoke English at home, they had the same trouble as the American-born American whites. So please remember that. Now I have 3 examples, which I will speak in my Chinese speech, of people who have regretted it, speaking to their children in English. The sterling example was the CEO of SPH, Alan Chan or Chen Qinglin. He speaks fluent Mandarin, reads fluent Mandarin. He was interested in it. His English is also top class. His wife also speaks fluent Mandarin. But he wanted his children to master English, so they both spoke to the children, to their daughters in English. Today, the daughters don't like Chinese, not doing well learning Chinese. So I told him, you made a mistake. I showed him this research in America, says, 后悔. 来不及. That's a great loss.